Should you curse the world for your failures? Should you tear down others because it's not you? Should you curse the world for your failures? Should you tear down others who are successful because it's not your success? If any one of us were to do that, or if every one of us were to do that for that matter, the whole world would burn. So here's the deal. There's a certain amount of understanding that where you are is not the world. I just got a video on my For You page as I'm doom scrolling, and it's from The Jaunt, and this guy, he talks ideas, and I've seen his videos for such a long time, and he does a great job of just posting them online. So he hasn't let his failures get in the way of, him succeeding. He hasn't let the world burn, but instead he's decided to pursue it. Anyways, what was I trying to say? He said it's so tough to have a conversation with someone who has no delay between their awareness and what they say. And so a thought goes through their head, and then that's just their attitude. And man, this hit home for me, and it just so convicting. It was right on time. All these videos recently have just been perfect, exactly what I need to hear. It's almost like there's a hand pushing certain things to be shown. And he said, it's almost like they're angry, and then the whole world is angry, and or they're happy, and it's like, and basically they have an awareness, and then that's just their whole life. And I guess that's a lot of people. It takes a lot of maturity to have something happen to you, and then to be like, well, I'm still me, and this thing has happened. And so this happening doesn't change me. It just is a new thing that I add into the okay, this is part of my worldview now. This is something I have to keep an eye out for. But that doesn't mean that me has completely changed to become this. It doesn't mean that I'm completely controlled by these things. So there's got to be something biblical there, not being controlled by the whims, the winds. So, yeah, I find myself often in the spot of being mad at other people. And I feel like the devil kind of wants you to be there. He definitely wants you to be there, because God wants us to seek community. He wants us to find the best in others. He wants us to work together. And so whenever I'm cynical, then that's like the opposite mode of being. It's pointing out the worst in others. And it's in a way, it's me avoiding my moral responsibility by recognizing where others have fallen short. But who am I to judge others? Because I've fallen short in so many ways, right? So if I judge them, as you judge, so you'll be judged. So it's such a tough spot. On the other side of things, instead of me always judging others, I could extend gratitude or grace to them and say, you know what, they're probably just trying their best. And either way, whatever they're doing doesn't change what needs to be done from me. That's the key. Because the devil wants you to use any excuse to keep you from following through on your moral responsibility. You have something on your heart that you're called to do, and he's going to try to get you to pin it against the inadequacy of the world. And he's going to try to get you to pin it against the failures of others, right? Or the successes of others, or he's just trying to isolate you from people and from the world. Maybe even try to get you to elevate your moral high ground. And that's a temptation that you just have to avoid. Which is tough because it's entertaining. People want to see you prideful. They want to see you, backed into a corner, all these different things. So as I start promoting this Schwartz company, I got to be really cautious and understand that what's put on my heart is that it'd be a good thing to celebrate runners by making shorts with marathon ribbons built in. That's it, right? I don't necessarily have to win people over. As you get them, so you'll keep them, right? If you find a woman at the bar, well, you're probably going to have to go out to the bar every weekend as you're dating. That's just who she is. So, if I got viewers by using power or by using force or using the instant gratification or whatever method I'd use to kind of manipulate or gimmick these people, then that's how I'm going to keep them. And so I have to kind of keep up that image, which is really dangerous. This is like the whole Genesis story, right? Manipulation and power and moral high ground and Cain and Abel, different modes of being. Cain cursed the world because he fell short. That's the thing. What, am I going to curse God for providing me all these wonderful opportunities just because in this current moment I'm not where I'd like to be? When I say it that way, I'm like, man, I'm sorry, God. Because, wow, I've had such a great life. And, I'm still alive. And there's still time on the clock. And, I can realize these things now. And, how many times have I put on the brakes just 1 second earlier and it saved myself from getting in a car wreck? Or how many times has God, held me back from leaving the house for whatever reason for just long enough so that I don't get in a car wreck? Or, does that happen? Does it not? I mean, he has the ability. I don't see why not. But if it's not in that category, I know that somewhere along the way, there's something that keeps all of us in order. Like a friend will say something right before you make a really stupid decision, right? Someone will call you, or you'll hear a song on the radio and it reminds you of that thing and it gives you the confidence and you get pulled out of the rut. That's what we do every day. So there's got to be some element of, God helping us out. But that's the thing, is that what does he ask from us? He just asks that we give him our best. That's it. So I got to figure out what that looks like. Well, have I done that today? I mean, I'm focusing so much on the opinion of the world or how to say this video or, just over here, just distraught, asleep on my bed, taking a nap because I just don't want to deal with it, right? I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. So what does he want from me? He wants my best. Well, what is my best? My best is putting out videos on a consistent basis, putting planning into the videos. I now know that I'm doing the marathon series and that I gotta find costumes. I'm going to Mississippi this weekend and I don't have a costume. So I just need to focus on that. I need to do these things well. The results will follow. I don't have to worry about that. What is my best in the shorts? Just putting a video about it, asking people, getting feedback, letting people know my idea, right? Putting it out into the world. I don't know. Don't curse the world. Don't curse others. Don't curse God. Don't count God out. He can still work in your life. He can renew every situation. He can make something great out of whatever happens in your life. It's that full faith in him. And that's it. So I know that, and I'm here. And it's not going to be immediate. That's the thing I was thinking about last night. Everyone wishes, myself included, that the cost of sin, the punishment of sin, was immediate, right? The sin is immediate. Why can't the punishment be immediate? Well, that's the problem. It's not that easy. That would be too easy. The punishment has to match the crime. Immediate sin, you would think immediate punishment. But that would be too easy of a punishment. It's forever punishment, is eternity punishment. The cost of sin is death, but not just death in the physical realm, but like spiritual death, separation from God, hell. So why is that? Because there's no difference. There's no difference there. Like if you commit, if you just do something that's sinful, then now you're being pulled away from God's will for your life, and there is no difference between that and hell and suffering. So every moment of every day, you kind of make that decision, and one individual decision could create the pathway. Who knows what, one night of binge drinking could lead you down a series of 7 decisions that completely change your life, because you drink a little bit too much, and then you start saying things that you shouldn't to your friend, and so then your friend gets mad at you and walks away, and so now you're alone, and you have these bad habits of talking with women because you're confident, and then you take a step too far with one of them, and then because your friend's not around anymore, you're like, well, I can just leave with this girl and he would never know, and like, I might as well, like, if I had a bad night, XYZ, it's been a hard time, I deserve this. And so you go home with the girl, and like, then you do something you probably shouldn't do, you get her pregnant, and so now your friend is mad at you, you got a girl pregnant, you drank way too much, so you wake up the next morning, you don't even realize. This is oh man, what a great example that you would think that the consequences of having sex would be an immediate punishment, but it's not. It's for eternity. It's quote unquote a version of eternity is that you have a child out of wedlock, and then that is now your problem, which a child is never a problem, but you see what I mean? From that lens, it's like that's now your responsibility to take care of. That is quote unquote a problem to the lifestyle that you live, because the lifestyle that you live is not a good one. And so, of course, that's a far out there example, but it's crazy how all this fits together. I'm in debt, but I also just did a mission trip with my buddies, and because I felt it made sense to do it. So anyways, I was in Costa Rica with my buddies doing this mission trip, and they told us the first day we got there, we were staying on the beach, we'd go into the city, we'd help the people, hand out food, flyers for this English class, come back to the house we were staying at, and then we would go surfing on the beach at night, right before we had dinner and, chapel and everything like that. So they told us, when you go out to surf, be careful, because we've had one person die in the past month out there that just got pulled out to sea because they didn't realize it, and then they drowned because they were exhausted. And I've always heard that, and I've been like, yeah, but not me. Like, sure, someone who's out of shape, old, but like me, I'm a young guy, I'm fast, I can hold my breath, like I can swim for a long time, I'm fine, But you never know what can pull you underneath in your pride and kill you, literally, like an undercurrent, like a riptide, like the ocean. It just does not care. It's ruthless. So you have to be prepared for those moments. So long story short, we hop on these surfboards, we go out there. It's me and my buddy Tyler. The waves are fine, 3 foot, 4 foot swells, and like stuff where you can kind of like catch a wave and ride it in, but it's nothing too crazy. Then out of nowhere, 5 waves in a row came in. That's like, oh my gosh. I'm not getting at least 8 feet tall off the top of the water. I really believe that it was that tall. Someone would have to show me to confirm, but here's the context. Enough to where I was underwater for like 10 seconds after these waves crashed, right? That's a pretty decent amount of time. And when you're underwater, when that thing crashes over you, you got to hold your breath. It was exhilarating for Tyler and I. But you got to hold your breath, and like it jostles you around, and then the back of the wave catches you and like kind of rolls you forward if you didn't go low enough underneath it. And you got to come back up for a breath of air, and you have maybe 7 seconds until the next swell hits you. And then that's just constant. It's like 5 in a row. And that's a whole like 2 minutes nonstop of just these waves coming in, crash, get back up, take a breath, look over at Tyler. He's like, just, the vivid memory I have, he's looking at this wave and he goes, awooga, awooga. And then it hits me first, and I'm dying laughing when it hits me. But then I come back up and I'm like, all right, man, lock in. Like, there is no room here to play around. You could die. And see, in our pride, we think that the waves of life couldn't pull us out to sea and kill us. But that's the problem, is that no warning could have prepared me for those waves, because I'm prideful, right? Because I let pride get to my head, because I'm human, because I rely on my own strength, because I don't give enough respect to God, to the elements, to nature, I don't have enough gratitude, or I don't really understand the weight of, this life that I've been given. So I say all these things to say, in our pride, we would assume that we're never going to be in that situation, but it's all too soon. It happens just like that. So you got to be so careful. Because I've already seen myself slip, trying to make a joke, be funny to the group of people, trying to fit in. And then you say too many jokes too far, and then now, like, there's a group of people out there that view me in a negative light slightly. And there's a thing is they're like, oh, he's a good guy, whatever. But like, if they really told you what they believe, or didn't even know that they believe about me, because it's just subconscious feelings, they'd be like, keep an eye on him, because, he makes dark jokes. He isn't to be trusted. He whatever. You see what I mean? People aren't actually believing that or saying that outright. But it's like those subtle things. I just know it because that's how I feel about other people. So, yeah. Don't curse the world. Don't count God out. He can remedy any situation. And humble yourself. And that's something I need to hear right now. When you feel convicted, when you need to be humbled, don't lie. Don't shove it down. Yeah. But you're only human. Don't let it crush you. Here we are. This is it. This is the situation. It's not like it's immediately going to be solved. It goes back to the same thing with the price of sin. Another great example, gaining weight. Well, if it took you 3 years to put on 40 pounds, guess what? It's going to take you 3 years to put it off. And maybe longer. And maybe you could do it faster than that, but to really combat the situation that you're in and not let it slip back to where it is, it's going to take at least that amount of time of good habits to completely change that identity, just to match the amount of proof. You can say, oh, for those 3 years, I was overweight, but for these 3 years and 1 day, I've been at a healthy weight. I go to the gym and I'm in the best shape of my life. Well, now, in the recent history, you have more proof over the past 6 years in 1 day that you're a healthy person than being a fat person. And so then that gives you the identity that that's not who you are. You're not controlled by that. You got to work towards it. So there's something I struggle with, right? It's like, okay, on my own strength, I've already failed. If I've failed and I've been away from God, it's because I'm relying on my own strength. And if I failed with God, well, I'm not relying on him, because God, the definition of God is perfect, and that falls on me. I can't curse God for my own failure to follow him fully. So what, should I villainize myself? Should I take a whip to my arm? No. I just got to realize okay. That was stupid. I made a mistake. I'm not going to count him out. I wasn't fully relying on him. If I had relied on him fully, I wouldn't have made the mistake, because he makes me perfect. My weaknesses are made perfect in him. So as I work through this thing in my own life, it's like, all right, God, this is a problem that I face consistently, and the only way that I can overcome it is by pursuing you relentlessly in my relationship with you. I have a lot of problems like that. So one other thing I've been thinking recently, be careful how you consume. That's been the thread that's been going through my mind. Maybe that's my conscience putting that on me. Maybe that's God saying that. Maybe that's just me trying to come up with something to, fit the situation. Because I have this little thing on my lip that 3 days ago, this weekend in Austin at the airport. Yeah. Wow. When I was leaving the Austin Marathon this weekend at the airport, I just kept biting my lip. Oh, it hurt so bad. I would chew food really fast because I was hungry, and then just crunch on the lip, and it hurts so bad. And it's just the immediate regret. And it happened 3 times in the conversation as I'm talking to this girl and Tyler that we met at the airport. And I just get this gut feeling, be careful how you're consuming. Because I think I'm just consuming things too fast. I think that I'm I'm there and gone. I just go run the marathon, I come back home, and it's done. And I'm just consuming. I'm chewing my food too fast. I'm not digesting. Right? And so I'll come home, and then earlier today, I'll be watching Instagram while also eating food. Or I guess it was yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. So be careful how you're consuming. I'm eating food and I'm watching Instagram, and then bite my lip. So I put the phone down. I sit up with my back straight. Take some discipline. Okay. There's some level here of, because I've heard this on a podcast, I've heard this from Jordan Peterson, the closer to God that you move, the less room for error is allowed. Because if you've seen layers, if you've gotten closer to God, it's not that there's less grace, but it's you can't play the card that you're the beginner. Because God's oh, really, man? Oh, really? He's I know you've seen me. There's no going back. Once you've seen God, it's look, you can try, but you're just betraying yourself. You're just burying something. So there's less room for error because, man, I've seen the goodness of God. And yeah, Philippians 4:12. I need to memorize that verse. So, look, who knows? Maybe I'm going through all these situations just to document it so that someone along the way, like you, can watch this video and have some confidence. Maybe that's all it is, right? Maybe all of us should be doing that, just to help each other out, just to let people know, hey, I'm facing that too. I'm facing a very similar situation. It's so tough because that's a fully vulnerable position, but that is also really engaging. It's man, I really know that person to a new level that no one else has ever let me get close to them in that way. I don't know. One thing's for certain. You shouldn't curse the world or God or others for your own failures. And it's not going to be immediate. And if the sin has taken years to develop, it's going to take years to unravel. It can be unraveled in a moment through Christ. And the salvation that comes following that will take years to unravel, to be worked out. Or else it would be too easy. You know, you've got to work it out. Yeah. Because that's the best situation for you. It builds the habits, the worldviews, teaches you the appreciation. Why not us?